How's it going, everyone? Welcome. Today we have Eugene Crockett here. He's going to be talking a little bit about his background and what he brings, not only as a realtor, but his 19 years in the stock market and as well as Wall Street. Welcome, Eugene.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, Cole.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, tell me a little bit about yourself. Obviously, you're a realtor right now in the Melbourne, Florida area. Was there anything you'd like to tell the audience?
Yeah, whether it's selling real estate or selling stocks, we are in a business where it's highly intense. Uh, one plus one typically never equals two. And I'm glad I had the experience of being in the stock market because just going through the ups and downs of the tech bubble and different things. There's nothing I really cannot handle in real estate that may come up. So yeah.
So I guess diving into just the some questions I have for you, and I guess a lot of the audience that watches my podcast and a lot of people that watch Brotherhood Finance as a whole, um, there's a lot of things that they don't know or they're here to learn, whether it's stocks, real estate, or the crypto market in general. But I guess as a kind of as a whole, what would you say is the best advice you can give someone who's just coming out of high school and going into college?
A couple of things. I think it's a couple of things. One, you should learn early on to stay diversified because momentum is fickly. If you overload in just one thing, it's very difficult sometimes. Just as quick as things go up, they can come down as quick. And when you're not diversified, you can get hurt. Um, I would also say right away, start investing in the stock market. The reason why you want to do that is you look at these famous people like Carl Icahn, Warren Buffett. They are where they are today from many years of experience. So when you come out of high school, very few people just have that luck where everything they touch just goes up substantially. So you need to learn to experience how to trade in the market, when to buy, when to sell, how you get a dividend, how it's reinvested, and also learn the dollar cost average. And what I mean by that is, let's just say you have $10,000 to invest. Start off with 2,500. I know you want to spend that $10,000 and invest it, but markets don't go up or down, they go up and down. So sure enough, there will be pullbacks. And if there's a company that you like, you want to average into it on the way down.
Awesome, awesome. So that kind of, I guess, dives into my next question is, um, what makes a good investment?
Uh, I think a good investment is one that matches, like, for example, when you go out to eat, you want to enjoy the meal. If you like spicy food, then you're going to get spicy food. But if you don't like spicy food, you're not going to order it. So I think what makes a good investment is one first something that matches that matches what you're doing. I think that's very important. So yeah, it's got to be something you believe in. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't if you're looking to be aggressive, then don't buy something that's like watching a snail pace. You gotta.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. You gotta match. It's got to match up with your goals.
Hmm.
That's really. I think that's the best investment. I think um, you definitely want to buy something that's outperforming savings. Um, but you definitely, I think one of the best investments you can have out there is don't be 100% long. I say being 100% long is 100% wrong. So just taking it back a second, somebody new, you can ask 100 people, hey, what do they like? And 100 people are all going to give you different symbols and different investments, but they all have one similar characteristic. They're all long. They will all work out if the market goes up. So what type of investments do you have if the market goes, what can go up when the market goes down? And so,
Yeah,
yeah.
obviously, what we teach here is you definitely want to have a diversified portfolio. So if you have all your money in the short game, what's going to happen in the long term? Obviously, there's short game taxes and capital gain taxes and things along those lines. Do you want to dive a little bit into those, especially as people are new investors, especially coming out of high school and college? They might say, oh dang, look at McDonald's. Their stock was up 22% in the last couple months. How would you, I guess, explain to a person if they want to say, oh, I only want to keep it in there for a little short term?
So now one of the biggest, I forgot to answer this, but liquidity. What is a good investment? One that is liquid. Okay. People don't understand sometimes when they put things in certain things, IRAs, 401ks, and stuff like that, which you should do, but they're not liquid.
Mm-hmm.
So a good investment, if you don't want to touch something for 20 years, then buy something that's not liquid, like a private placement. But if you're looking for liquidity, then you better buy equities or things that you can readily get your hands on.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess a question that I have is, do you prefer to invest in real estate or stock market?
I think, it's all about pricing and timing, right? So it's an interesting thing right now. I think the real estate market is on a run that's going to continue. Um, and I think it's less sensitive to inflationary news right now. So if I had to, again, now if you're looking at it as an investment property with a cap rate, right now cap rates are down. They're not what they used to be because prices are up. But when I seen Chairman Powell recently just talk about inflation or interest rates, which we know are going to be on the rise, we seen how quick more the market reacted, Bitcoin reacted, real estate. It didn't even matter; it was in its own world. So as of this moment, I'd say I would buy more. I'd be more interested in investing in real estate, but in the right areas. Because a rising tide lifts all boats. There are some homes in some areas probably that are just rising because there's low supply and people need homes. But if the market goes the other way, I don't think the underlying fundamentals will help out some neighborhoods. For example, I think California, San Francisco is down 3 or 4%, while as real estate prices in other areas just keep on going up.
So, what would you say, especially in the Florida state? How I know, especially in the Melbourne area. I mean, our old house went up massively
I
since
saw.
we, yeah, since we sold it last. So, what would you say, like, how different landmarks or different areas have an impact on the real estate, not only as a home buyer but as an investor?
As an I think different areas play a big role, right? Melbourne as a whole. Well, first off, the bigger scale is a year ago, we heard a lot of talks about people coming to Florida, people wanting to get out of these states with these high taxes and very urban and come more to rural areas. And, for example, New York, I lived in Long Island. It's a suburb of New York City. Long Island is on fire right now. Everybody's trying to get out to Long Island because it's a suburb away. It's not as concentrated as the city. So I think areas where you have great schools, great jobs, and it's not a melting pot of so many people all around, I think those are the ones that are going to do well. And if you're in like Melbourne is an aerospace hub. So, half of these companies, the people are working from their homes and they don't have to go back to work because the field that they're in, they could do a lot of what they're doing from their home.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think Melbourne as a whole, I think it starts with the jobs, schools, but the big thing is also the government, right? I mean, let's not forget that the Kennedy Space Center got shut down many years ago. I think we need to pay attention to what the government's doing. That could affect you on a hyper local. Look at, the pipeline that got shut down. All those people lost, not trying to play politics, but what happens is all these people lose their jobs. They can't pay their mortgage anymore. I
Hmm.
probably don't want to buy real estate in those areas. You know, um, But then you look at areas like Houston and other areas where oil prices are at what, $80 a barrel right now, or wherever they are at. I mean, it's booming right now. So I mean, I think those are the key things. I think it all starts with the jobs and the schools, and yeah, I think those are some of the most important things actually.
So I guess kind of transitioning our focus back over to the stock market. Um, what what would you say is your kind of overall opinion on what the market is going to do in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you think it's going to continue to go, especially as we print more and more money, or do you think it's going to have a slow decrease?
This is when I think technicals play a part, and I'm not talking about a 10-minute trade. I'll give you an example. COVID was crazy, but the market had been on a multi-year run. It needed something technically to take it down 20% to cause what is called a correction. Now, what we had a V-shaped recovery. Now we're touching, all-time highs. So I think a lot will be told within the next 2, 3, 4 months. If this handling, this consolidation, if we break through this, or if this is just, a shoulder and we're headed lower. In my opinion, at some point, I do think there will be a pullback in the market. I think everything is costing way much more money. Um, and in the past, uh, a lot of companies were getting money from, raising capital from, and getting money from banks at a very low rate and buying back their company stock. And it kind of helped them, beat earnings. But I do think at some point, as interest rates go up, they're not going to be looking to buy back as much stock as they were. So yeah, I mean, I expect this. The one thing about, they say historically, when you have a government where you have one side either has the Senate, the other has a House,
Yeah.
the market typically does better. Right now, we have one side of the government controlling all three branches. And when you look at history, that has not typically been a good time for the stock market. So, I mean, I expect at some point over the next year or so for there to be a pullback. I think we're starting to see some exiting at the top. You look at Warren Buffett about 5 months ago, he unloaded his airlines. I think some of this big money, not the algorithms, but the real big money out there, I think they're going to be selling into rallies, um, maybe because they think the market needs to cool off.
So I guess a question we had in the comments down below is, would you recommend crypto or sticking to stocks?
Okay, so I will go back to diversification on this. I do believe it belongs in the portfolio, because I don't know enough about crypto, but what I do know is I'm looking at big institutions, not China, but outside of that, big banks and big institutions are even companies like Facebook, which I think is creating their own type of digital currency. Is I mean, there's just too much smart money involved in it, so I wouldn't be going all in on it. I guess if it seems like every time Bitcoin has been coming down to around 30,000, it's been getting support. So if you are looking to get into it, that may be a time to piece in. But it's way off of 60,000, so it's kind of in limbo right now.
Hmm.
I would say buy some cryptocurrency. It is what I'm being told the future, but I really don't know enough about it. So I would say buy some crypto and buy some stocks. And whatever dollar amount you have that you want to put into crypto, do 25% at a time. So you're not, because it's very volatile. I didn't like the way it reacted. Everybody thought it was a hedge to inflation or whatever, and it got whipped around just like any other high beta company would. So the fact that it's a hedge against the market or the rising, interest rates, I didn't see that happen.
Yeah. So I guess a question that I was sitting here thinking about is when you were back on Wall Street and you were a stockbroker, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What I guess advice if an average person gave you a call, what and they were like, hey, This is my first time investing into stocks, or I'm an amateur at investing stocks, and I may think I know what I'm doing. What kind of advice would you give them if they don't really know the direction they want to go?
Okay, well, we specifically focused in on accredited investors, right? So if somebody is making, we worked with people that made over 100,000 a year.
Hmm.
Okay, had a net worth of at least $1 million, whether some of that was tied up in a house or not. So I would just take it per person. If a person is making 50,000 a year and they want to invest $100,000 of their savings, I'm going to say that's a mistake. There's a lot of good times in the market, but they can also be very painful too. So it's all a matter of suitability, right? I would say somebody new. I would say start smaller. Don't go all in. Don't go heavy, because your profile does not dictate that you should be investing like this. It's almost like if you're new in the market, you should almost kind of like slot machines don't require a lot of money. I think that's a great way to start off if you're new in the market. Don't go all in because it takes a long time to make the money, but it's
Yeah,
very quick for you to lose that money.
for sure. So I
And
guess.
I would tell anybody who's investing nowadays, if you're doing great in your portfolio, you should look at ETFs that do a direct inverse of the S&P 500. So you
Mhm.
have something like DOG, which does an inverse of 1%. If the Dow goes down 1%, it goes up 1%. At least you could say that, you know what, if you're holding everything, you don't want to sell anything, at least if the market does correct, you're softening some of the downside because that position that does the opposite of the market, those ETFs will help soften the downside that you have.
For sure. So I guess you did 19 years on Wall Street. So I guess moving to Florida, what made you want to become a realtor?
Uh, I it's kind of more personal than anything, but I got burnt out.
Hmm.
And I could just tell you, even to this day, the market's doing great, but you'll still see a couple of commercials a day trying to say, if you lost money in this stock, you could sue this firm. And it was a business that when you're dealing with customers, they love you when you're doing good. And even when you're doing good for them,
Yeah.
and I didn't have the excitement anymore. I wasn't waking up and I felt like it was the same thing. It was like Groundhog Day.
Hmm.
And so when I took up the idea about real estate, it just reigniting me, and I was very excited. And it's different because a lot of what I did was speaking to people on the phone. Real estate is all about meeting people face to face, and it seems like to me that they're more grateful than when I was dealing with customers in the stock market.
Hmm. So I guess my next question for you is, what is the most important traits and qualities to have when becoming a realtor?
Be honest, honesty. Don't let anybody mess with your integrity. Um, you know, be a person of character. Um, Always respond. I mean, I'll be emailing people back at 1 a.m. in the morning because I said I will email you back before the day is over. So, especially nowadays, if you're coming into the market right now, it is such a fast paced market. A great house hits the market, you need to let your client know immediately because chances are it's gone tomorrow. And don't pat yourself on the back, when things are great, because as soon as you do, you're going to get punched in the gut with something that doesn't go great. So yeah, I just think that you want to, answer phone calls, answer texts, answer emails, and set the expectations with people. I think there's a lot of people out there that they think because they're pre-approved, that that's it. They're at the top of the food chain to get that house, and that's not the case. And with sellers, just I think one of the biggest things is show more in value than what you actually get paid. This is a referral business. And from the beginning of the transaction to the end of it, you need to do 150%, so you can potentially ensure yourself getting more business in the future.
For sure. So I guess for somebody that wants to become a realtor, or somebody that says, "Hey, I don't feel like college is right for me. I want to go out and become a realtor. Do you think it's harder to do it that way, or do you think it would be easier to go to college, get something like a business degree, and then become a realtor if that's what you want to pursue?
Well, with me, I went to college for half a year, and I passed the Series 7 exam, which is considered to be up there with the bar exam. Um, and then with real estate, again, I didn't have a degree. Um, I think it's all up to the person. I just think that, you know, from what I've been told, that a lot of what gets taught in school sometimes is not what the real world is about.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to say because I never really, finished college. But I would say that in this business, as long as you work hard, um, and you're receptive and you're responsive and you're on top of things and you have a couple of people out there that will help educate you. Because what I learned from listening to Napoleon Hill is that you don't even need to have a college education or an education within a career of 20 years or so. If you surround yourself around people that have had the years of experience in school and in a profession that you want to be in, and you absorb everything, you soak everything in, you're getting that quick crash course on everything.
Yeah.
So when it comes to real estate, no, I don't think you need to go to college for it. But
Hmm.
what you do need to do is have a passion. And if you don't want to have a passion to help people and make money, it's not going to work for you.
For sure. Appreciate it. So I guess leading into a next my next question, how is your time different from Wall Street, different from being a real estate agent?
Um, Well, one of the differences is now I'm married, I have children, so that's a little different. I'm here in Florida compared to New York. So I will say there isn't a lot of differences. I think what people forget, at least for me in this business, because again, I didn't grow up here. I'm a transplant from New York, is that it's all the same. You have to speak to as many people as you can speak to. You have to learn to take rejection and learn from it. And you got to take that fear and turn it to faith. And so that's the thing. Fear is faith working in reverse. So I think that they're very similar. I know it helped me because when I speak to some people, I'm like, pick up the phone, speak to people, knock on doors, do open houses. And some people do not want to do that. I think they're very similar. um, I think the difference is that you're not going to wake up tomorrow for the most part on a piece of property you bought and it drops 40% on you.
Yeah.
That can easily happen in the stock market, or something can go up 40 to 50% the next day, and that's not going to happen in real estate. But
Hmm.
for me, I've always been the same. They used to call me Gene the Machine. Now they call me Crockett the Rocket because this is
Yeah.
just who I am. I just work really hard. And so to me, I like real estate. I really do. I feel like there's less distractions. There was a lot of distractions for me in the past. I was a little younger. Um, but I would say that the biggest difference between real estate and the stock market is that there's actually a physical connection to what you're doing with real estate. While as with the stock market, I was basically just managing intangibles, things that people cannot really see.
Yeah. So I guess as like a more of a the Wall Street is you were kind of playing were you like would you refer this to you were kind of playing with other people's money, or is that how, or do you think with the difference between that and real estate is you kind of is more as a face-to-face person, you can kind of walk them through and say, hey, this is what you're getting for your money, and compared to like where if you were on Wall Street you'd be like, well, this could go here but it also could go here.
Right. Well, that's the same thing with real estate. You hear that question right now from people. People need house. The people that are winning on the buying side are the people that really need a house. There's more to it than just buying a house because they feel like buying a house. But, you know, you know, it's, some of these properties, I mean, at the end of the day, forbearance can happen, something can happen, and, there could be a pullback in this too now. So, I think at this stage in the game, because real estate's done so well, you almost have to say that yes, there could be a pullback in the price. The price that you're paying today, even though it's appraising today, you can't control what happens. 3, 4, 5 months from now. I will say the biggest difference is, with the exception of maybe CDs or cash, um, everything in the stock market is speculation, whether it's gold, oil, Apple, Netflix, AMC, it's all speculation. And when it comes to real estate, a lot of times you're helping people have a home, so it's different. It's very different.
Yeah, and so I guess we had a question down below. Someone said AMC stock question mark, but this kind of leads me into a different question. It kind of goes so obviously we all saw the GME AMC push and things along those lines. I don't want to say as a guy on Wall Street, this obviously wasn't normal. No one expected this. And what do you think the internet and kind of the Reddit and everything along that as a whole can influence on the stock market? Do you think things in the future will be influenced like that, or do you think that was kind of a one kind of thing?
I don't
One.
know. I mean, again, to be frank with you, I don't really keep up with it that much
Mhm.
as far as that's concerned. I think, though, if 20 years ago people were doing this, they would have gotten into trouble for manipulation.
Yeah.
So things have definitely changed. I think it's creating more of a fair playing field because right now, a lot of times on a day-to-day basis, we're at the mercy of algorithms. They're kind of controlling this market, and everybody's trying to make their pennies in between. um, so I will say though, and this is one thing, and I'm happy that everybody's making money. I'm not really paying attention to this too much, but I will tell you, if I went back to the .com days, okay, you like we would buy a stock and a week from now be up 100%. And there are so many people I'm speaking to, young, older. That's happening today with them with GameStop and AMC and Groupon and just everything is going crazy. And let me just tell you something, you know, it's 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 to me, it's kind of like history repeating itself. So the biggest thing I could say is just because you made hundreds of percent on all these other stocks that you held, at some point, not everything you hold is just going to keep on going up. And at some point, you will get caught on the wrong side of the trade. So it's a different era today, cryptocurrency and different things like that. But with the .com, over time, it all came to an end. Because none of these companies have fundamentals. What really happened to the days of price to earnings, and price to sales and price to book? Because when the market does reset, those numbers start to come into play. But
So
I think I'm
yeah.
sorry. No,
No, go
go.
ahead. Okay.
I was going to say,
So
I think it's really cool that GE isn't GE of today. Facebook is GE, and you look at IBM, and Microsoft is IBM, and I think that's kind of cool. The one thing is, I feel when it comes to equities, I feel like 90% of the whole value of the stock market, when you talk about stocks, is only from a handful of companies, and that to me is over concentration. And that to me is just a reason why you don't want to get greedy and take profits. And, put a trailing stop. If you're up 100% in something, put a trailing stop 15% or 20% below today's close. And if it comes down 20%, all right, you made your money. The market took you out of it. You didn't take yourself out of it. You didn't let your own mind games get you in out of a stock. You said, I'm up 100%. I'm not going to be greedy. I'll put a trailing stop. And if I get stopped out, then I move on to something else.
yeah. So I guess the one thing I was gonna kind of transition into is you were mentioning the .com, and obviously in the 1990s, people first started figuring out about the internet, and the internet wasn't invented in the 1990s, actually invented in the 1980s.
Right.
And so, do you think kind of the cryptocurrency and things along those lines are kind of going to lead into kind of what happened with, I guess, the internet? Because obviously, as you were talking about the dot coms and things along those lines, you said they'll go up 100%. Which, if I mean, if you look over Bitcoin in the last year and a half, or even Ethereum or Cardano ADA, you're talking about 3.5K% increase. Do you
Yeah.
think that's something that's going to keep going up? I mean, especially if you're looking at people comparing it to the internet.
Um, I would say at this point in time, it can continue to go up, but I would say that if somebody coming in new, just piece into it, and if you're somebody who's done well in it, you know, maybe sell some into some strength. Don't sell it all, but sell some into strength.
Hmm.
Um, that's all I could say. As far as, I mean, again, I can only follow what the institutions are doing, and it does seem that a lot more banks are wanting to be involved in cryptocurrency. I also hear that it's a gateway for a lot of criminal activity.
Hmm.
So you definitely have that mixture of stuff going on here. It's very funny how Elon Musk can sneeze and it can go up and down one way or another. It's like
Yeah.
history just keeps on repeating itself. It's like I remember when Greenspan used to say certain things, the market would move substantially one way or the other. So I don't think it's a .com thing because I really don't. But I'm going to be one of these people honest. I really don't know enough about it, but I do know that ignorance is bliss, and I think it's worth having it in your portfolio. Just like I think gold is worth having in your portfolio. As a matter of fact, I'm more interested in pullbacks on gold right now or silver than I am in cryptocurrency just because I'm just getting exhausted at all this printing of money. I was telling somebody the other day, I'll be 43 years old this year. I remember when a quart of water cost a quarter. It's not a quarter anymore.
Yeah.
A Snicker bar is $2 when it used to be 50 cents. Did they change the ingredients in the Snicker bar? No. The printing of money over the years has devalued our dollar. That's what it's done. And I mean, something's got to give at some point.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm not one of these doom and gloom people. I just say maybe you want to be diversified, have some gold.
yeah, and it's crazy that 18%, 18 to 22% of all our money has been printed in the last year. That's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
So kind of diving into obviously we've talked a little bit about the real estate investing, the stock investing, and a little bit even of the crypto market. I guess my question to you is, what industries are you investing in right now? Obviously, you mentioned gold and silver, but is that all you're
Yeah,
looking at?
that's not really
Yeah.
industries. As far as industries are concerned, I mean, I'll be frank with you. I'm sitting on cash, waiting if there ever is a correction. And what I'm going to do
Mhm.
is instead of trying to pick the next GameStop or the next AMC, I want to add to the companies that have moat.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I don't agree with everything with Facebook and Google and Amazon and all these other companies, I don't like the way most of these companies operate, but they are the companies, they are the bellwethers, and so I'm looking for a nice pullback, and if we get it, then I'm going to buy the. I'm not going to try to bet more in the industries, but if you're talking about industries right now that I would be looking at, I would be looking at companies like Home Depot. Okay, companies like Costco. The push of the housing market doing as well as it is just creating a lot of people either taking money out, home equity loans, and doing more improvements to their houses. Um, um, you know, I guess companies that that are tied to real estate, like I think Zillow is a monster, and so I like real estate. I like companies tied to housing right now. Um,
So I guess people that are listening, obviously, they hear you say Home Depot, Zillow, and you that I bet you they're scrambling on their computers right now, seeing what I guess their overall balances are and would you say that you would hold on to a little bit of more cash for now and wait till those dip a little bit, or would you say now's a good time for somebody to invest in like
I
home
would say
crypto?
I would say within the next 60 to 90 days, I would try not to run into everything because it's really one of the first times that Powell is talking about interest rates. And let's see how the market digested it. It didn't digest it well that day. We
Hmm.
bounced right back, but just people think because something bounces right back that all is forgotten. I think it takes a couple more months. So I would wait to see, they say sell in May and go away. So I tend to think that this is a trader's market anyway. Have fun. If you're going to get in and get out and get in and get out, have fun. I
Hmm.
think one of the most interesting buys right now, even though I don't, like I said, I don't know a lot about cryptocurrency, is actually Bitcoin. Right? We all kicked
Yeah.
ourselves in the butt when it ran to 60,000, and here it is. What I didn't look at it today, somewhere in the 30,000s.
Yeah,
I would
35
say,
now.
I would say if it tries to touch 30 again, I mean, even intraday, it went to 30 and snapped right back. So, I mean, you could buy Bitcoin here, and if you see it close below 29,000, get out.
Hmm.
You know, so but overall, outside of that, I would be waiting to see what interest rates do. I would be waiting to see, um, you know, uh, inflation numbers, more of that stuff before I go in, because I think if everything costs more money, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And we need to pay attention to the government. If regulation starts to come back in for certain things, that could hurt certain industries. So
Yeah, for sure. So I know you were talking, you said something about if you were how Bitcoin is kind of your go-to kind of cryptocurrency. So obviously, just speaking on the behalf of the viewers, not only at Brotherhood Finance, but you yourself, you're considering. Well, there's also these altcoins out there, coins that don't have, I guess, uh, a certain limit on how much there are. So, for an example, Bitcoin, there's a limit on how much Bitcoin there is. There's a limit on Ethereum. Things along ADA, there's a limit on those. So, I guess what would you tell somebody if they're like, well, I want to put 10 grand into Dogecoin, or I want to put 10 grand into Lifecoin, or something like that, that isn't really, I guess, doesn't have a limit, but yet someone like Elon Musk can just say, hey, go invest in Dogecoin and it goes up 50%.
um, like I said, I really don't know too much about the cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
I do know the logic of supply and demand, and that's part of the reason why real estate is doing well right now.
Mhm.
I think if what you're talking about, old coins, becomes something that gets accepted by banks, I think that's going to be what takes something to the next level. Outside of that, I would say, have at it, but I would just buy into it. I would
Yeah.
piece into it, but I do know how supply and demand works. And I think that's part of the reason why Bitcoin is doing as well as it is, right? Because
Yeah.
there's a limited amount. So I really don't know. Like I said, I don't
Yeah.
know enough
Yeah.
about it. I wish I did. But I mean,
So
I'll tell you what, my neighbor is very savvy in cryptocurrency. He loves it. He's a very smart guy. And and from what I'm hearing, it's legit and real. But just please remember this, everybody, the easy money has been made.
mhm.
The easy money has been made. I'll give you a perfect example. Bitcoin was at 50,000. Everybody's like, oh, it's going to 100,000. They're like this, that, and the other. Bitcoin goes down to 30,000. They're still up. But if I took their advice and bought at 60,000, it's so easy to tell everybody everything is great when you're in much
Yeah.
lower than everybody else.
Yeah.
I could sell that story all day.
Hmm.
Oh really? How much did you buy more big? I have to believe most of the people that got into Bitcoin early on did not buy more at 60,000.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and
mean,
and I
for me, example, I bought in at 19,000, so I'm still positive. So I guess I'm transitioning more over to the real estate aspect of things. Um, I guess where do you think most people go wrong when investing in real estate. It may not even have to be investing in real estate, but buying a home. I guess let's say you have the average family, they're 30 years old, starting out a family and they want to go buy a home. Where are some of the, I guess, normal mistakes you're seeing people make?
Um, I don't think they really understand. It's a bunch of things. One, they don't really understand the whole picture. For example, their mortgage. They don't realize um, how much money they're actually paying out. They don't take into effect taxes. For example, some if a house is homesteaded, right, and the person's been living in that house for 20 years, they're going to have a low tax rate. That next person sometimes doesn't realize that that following year in their mortgage, why it's gone up $200 a month, is because you know that whole time that that house was homesteaded, they could in Florida, your property taxes can't go up by more than 3% in a year. So I think sometimes they don't realize the tax ramifications. I also think that sometimes people worry more about, having a beautiful kitchen and don't care that the roof is 20 years old. Or at that point don't care, or an AC unit is outdated, and they let some of the other things that are very important, and I think some people are, for work that doesn't require, it requires a decent amount of money. People are overpaying substantially for work that may cost $10,000 to do. They're paying $50,000 for something, for the glitz
Yeah.
and glamour of it. So yeah, I think that's a mistake that I think some people are making when it comes to real estate. Um, I also think the flip side is renting. Some people don't realize that it's not a sales pitch. It's the truth. Why are you renting? Like, why are you renting? You make enough money,
Yeah.
go get a house. Own equity, have equity, have something that you own. When you rent from somebody, if something needs to be repaired, you may not get a good landlord. That landlord may decide, hey, the market's doing great. We're selling our house. See you later. So
Yeah.
I think I think it works both ways. I think that a lot of people are renting when they should be buying, and some people that probably own should have never bought a house. Um, yeah.
Okay, so kind of I guess going back to renting versus buying, what did, as a real estate agent, what determines, I guess, when a person should rent and when a person should buy? Especially as our audience here is probably in the early 20s going into 30s or 40s. What would you tell an average Joe that walked in and says, "Look, my price budget's $350,000. I make 170 to $100,000 a year. Should I be renting or should I be buying?"
Well, a lot of times the lenders are going to want 2 years. If you're employed by a company, they're going to want 2 years of you working for the company.
Hmm.
Um, also, if you got to have a good credit score. I would say, I guess I'm not a lender, but it seems nowadays you want to get over 700 in your credit score. It helps with your rate. So I think those are a couple of things that are important. Um, I think, it depends on the personality. If you're somebody who doesn't like having to answer to somebody like a landlord, I think from a personality standpoint, you're going to want to buy. Um, and, if you're self-employed out there, you're 1099, or there are lenders out there that can work off of bank statements where you don't need tax returns.
Hmm.
So, rent's going up too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the reality is it's going up probably just as much as home prices are.
Mhm.
So if you can get a house right now, I think you should take advantage of the low rates. It's an interesting thing. They say, what interest rate do you pay on a rental? It's 1,000% because you don't own it. You buy a house, 3,
Yeah.
4%. I mean, take advantage of the low rates. You have a good income, you have a good credit score, and low rates, then take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Not every home out there has to be, you have to take care of the maintenance. There's a lot of homes, townhomes, even some single family homes where you can get the maintenance wrapped up into your fees, because some people like to rent because they can pick up and leave and go where they want, even when they do make the money. But there's a lot of communities out there that could do that, and you own it. And at the end of the day, you want to build up your net worth. You're not building up your net worth renting. You
Yeah.
know,
So I guess that kind of leads me into exactly what I was going to ask you is owning a home an investment?
no, it's actually a debt. It's
Um,
actually a debt unless you own it outright.
yeah.
You got a mortgage to pay. But so yes, it is an investment when the equity grows. But again, you owe a debt. You owe a debt. But there's a lot of benefits in owning a home. You get to write certain things off. It's it's your own. I mean, yeah, I mean, you own it, but it is a debt, until you pay it off outright. It's the bank's property, not yours. So, but once you're, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry. No,
Yeah, so I guess going into, you're saying it's a debt. So as somebody that may have a little extra money and kind of wants to invest in real estate. So if I'm, let's say for an example, I got some money and I want to invest in real estate, am I better off investing into, let's say, a duplex or triplex, or am I better investing into something that I can get 12 to 14 units and more, I guess, even though I'm going in debt, I'm still having more cash flow come in every month than if I owned I guess, a duplex or triplex.
well, it all depends, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it takes a certain type of personality, a certain type of person to have a place with 14 units. If you're that's 14 different, reasons not to pay rent during COVID.
Yeah.
You ask the people in New York, you asked them 2 years ago, they would have loved cash flow. Now they're
Mhm.
getting negative cash flow. So, I think what people are realizing is that the prices of duplexes and investment properties, they are sky high right now. And lenders are going to start, I think it's always like a percent more, or maybe a little bit more than a percent. Like if you're buying a home and then buying an investment property with a mortgage, the interest rate is always like at least 100 basis points more, if not more than that. And so the the ROI is becoming less. Yeah, I think one of the best investments you could do, and I'll give you an example. You look at Vieira, right? That's where I live.
Yeah.
Buying new construction in Vieira the last 7 or 8 years has been amazing. And what they're turning around and selling them for. So
Mhm.
I think one of the best investments is if you can buy new construction in an area that's doing well and get in the beginning. Get in when they're first building in there, be in that first phase, because by the time that phase is completed or the whole master plan is done,
Yeah.
people. I mean, we've seen it in Strom Park. They bought for 2 or 3 years and then they sold it, and then they bought in Trisona and then they sold it.
Mhm.
And so I think that's the best place to be right now. I think there's something to be said about new construction. Um, I think there's a big peace of mind with having something new construction, whether it's the 10-year structural warranty, you get a couple of years builder warranty on that property. Um, and when you get in on the ground floor of that, typically you see a lot of upside.
For sure. So I guess one of my last questions for you are, what are some of your goals in the next 10 years? What do you want to accomplish, whether that's as a real estate investor, or was that real estate agent, or maybe even in the stock market?
Um, I as far as real estate is concerned, um, I want to be known as the most respected real estate agent in Brevard County.
Hmm.
That's going to come through hard work and consistency, and always taking care of the clients. Um, as far as the stock market is concerned, um, I think I know in 10 years from now I will have finally have learned from all my mistakes of the 19 years. Because right now, I kind of look at things. I do a lot of paper trades,
Hmm.
right? For example, I said a month and a half ago, buy Generac, which is the largest generator company in the world. It was a $275 company. It's now at 400, and hurricane season hasn't even started yet.
Yeah.
Whenever there's a hurricane, the stock rallies, 20%. So by all my years of experience, I think I am going to have a pretty nice, sizable net worth in the stock market, but it's going to be done through patience. You see, one thing I've learned is the patience. I don't need to be in every AMC or GME or every single thing like that because I know there's that trade. There's going to be another trade tomorrow. There's going to be another situation I could do. And as far as net worth, I'm not going to go into specific numbers, but
Yeah.
I have a pretty high goal on where I want my net worth to be in the next 10 years. And also, even though I'm from New York and a lot of people talking to me and who I am comes from New York, Brevard is my home, and I really want to make a major impact by giving back. I want to help out. Like for example,
Yeah.
there was mortgage forbearance, right? There was people getting stimulus checks. I mean, nonprofits, the key word there is there's no real profit for them. Think about how much they struggled in the last year. If businesses weren't making money and people were staying home and not having jobs, there's a lot of nonprofits and a lot of good charities out there that struggle. So over the next 10 years, I just want to be able to play a bigger part in doing as much as I can to help out, the organizations that are doing a great job
Yeah.
and trying to help out.
And kind of diving into that, you talked about a little bit earlier before the broadcast that you talk about you have $1,000 grant for your charity. Can you explain a little bit about that for everybody?
Sure. I'm doing basically what's called a recurring grant here in Space Coast. I'm going to be awarding it on a quarterly basis. The reality is that in order to get registered with it, you have to go to a company called donatesmarter.com, and
Hmm.
they will help you out with the registration. Basically, if you're a local charity, working to do good in Brevard County, making it a better place to live, you know, we want to know who you are. And we want to help not just financially, but physically. Like some people don't have a bookkeeper or they don't have the proper staff to help with that. So yeah, I'm going to be doing this on a quarterly basis, and again, like I said, you go through Donate Smarter. Um, so I've already gotten involved in one charity, which really is something amazing. It's called Swim Safe Forever.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you noticed this, but Florida is the capital of the United States for more drownings of children than anywhere else
Yeah.
in the United States. And that's a bad statistic. I mean, it's a terrible statistic. And why I'm getting involved in this one and kind of spearheading it is everybody's coming to Florida,
Yeah.
and you got people coming from Montana. They've never seen a pool, and
Yeah.
almost every other house out here has a pool. So they are doing amazing things at Swim Safe Forever. There's something out there. It's an organization called, you know, Parents Preventing Childhood Drowning. And so right now, that is the first nonprofit that I've gotten involved in, and I want to help out as much as I can. And we're here. I'm here. Donate Smart is here to really help out these nonprofits. But you have to be. It just can't be any charity. It has to be somebody that's registered through Florida, and through Donate Smarter, they will help get you set up. They'll vet you. And on July 13th, between 4 to 5 p.m., is going to be my first quarterly grant. Basically, I'm going to do a Zoom call. Everybody's invited. People are going to talk about why I should be giving the grant to them. And yeah, and we're here to help.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, wrapping it up, everybody. Crockett the Rocket, thank you for coming on board, and thank you for your time and explaining to not only my viewers but everybody that joined here live today on real estate and kind of the diving into a little bit of the stock market. I really do appreciate it.
Sure, excellent. And like I said, I just want to say, because I've been so deep into real estate since I came into this career, as far as the crypto questions, I apologize if I weren't able to answer them as good as I can. All I could say is that, um, you always got to go what you believe in. Those people that believed in it, like yourself and a lot of other people at 19,000, there was a lot of naysayers out there. The most important thing with any investment is that you believe in it. And if you believe in it, don't let anybody else, kind of take you away from that.
Hmm.
And if anybody wants to reach out to me, any questions about the stock market, is okay if I give them my
Yeah,
number.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
If you want to reach out to me about real estate or the stock market, you can reach out to me at area code 321
Hmm.
328 9064. And if you're interested in my real estate services, you can go to crocketttherocket.com, which is
Hmm.
CROCKETTHE, and then rocket.com,
Awesome.
crocketttherocket.com.
Hmm.
And, thanks for having me, Cole.
Of course.
You're
Thanks
doing
for.
great things out there, man. So keep it
Thank you.
up.
Thank you. And just to wrap it up, make sure you guys, if you guys have not, to go down below, hit that like button, subscribe. It really does help us out. It allows people like Mr. Eugene Crockett and more to come on the show and show their experiences, show their, I guess, specialty and their knowledge that they have in their industries. So really do appreciate it, Mr. Crockett. And if you guys want to check him out, make sure, like he said, go to his website or text him. His number is on the screen. Well, with that, hope everyone has a blessed day. Peace.
Take care.